So Candida is clearly a menace to society, right? But how do we kill Candida, or how do we get rid of it? Now, clearly, if you suspect that you have a Candida overgrowth, it's very important to talk to your doctor about getting rid of it and how to do that. But it might be beneficial also to stop eating sugar and to stop carb loading if that's a big part of your diet. The elimination of carbs and sugar is basically starving the yeast because you're removing their food source from the body. Unfortunately, though, that's not always enough, especially if you have an accumulation of other things, other byproducts, dead cells and things that Candida can use. In that case, sometimes you actively need to attack Candida as well to try and get rid of them, not just starve them. So how do you do that? Many people will say, well, you definitely you need to take a probiotic to combat Candida. And that is half true. When you take probiotics are basically a strain of good guys. Probiotics, biotic means life, pro means pro-life. That's why biotics are life, they kill bacteria. Probiotics repopulate with those living organisms. So you're essentially recruiting good guys into the battle, so to speak. You're repopulating the streets of the microbial city with good guys. That's a good thing. It helps balance the sides and kind of resolve dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of good guys and bad guys. The problem is Candida, they have a very impressive armor, okay? They have kind of a shell it's a sturdy cell wall that surrounds them. It's kind of like a full body bulletproof vest, I guess you'd say. Now, about 80 to 90% of this cell wall or this bulletproof vest is made up of carbohydrates such as glucan and chitin, as well as some proteins, fibrin, and a few fats. But, this is another reason why carbohydrates are super important when killing Candida. But, this cell wall, this shell that it has, it not only gives shape to the yeast, but it also kind of helps it morph and adapt to the changing environment of the body, and it helps it do its work. It's basically very essential to the life of the yeast. So the cell wall, it has these specific grips on it, okay? Think in terms of like Velcro. And this is what allows Candida to stick to tissue, to our cells. So that's why it can become very widespread very quickly, because it's very hard to get rid of because of these grips. It's very well documented that the cell wall, the shell of it has components in it that are able to depress and deactivate the immune system. Okay, it's kind of like kryptonite to Superman. In fact, there's some actual components in the cell wall of Candida that are able to control nearly all arms of the immune system. And if that wasn't bad enough, which it is, I could stop there and that's bad enough, but if that wasn't bad enough, Candida also has the ability to form biofilms. I don't know if some of you may have heard of biofilms. I've talked about it before in regards to Lyme disease, because Lyme also has the ability to form biofilms. But what does that mean? So essentially, the yeast kind of band together and they form this like organized community, like an army within themselves. They attach to each other as a group, and then they attach as a group to the surface of the body somewhere, and they hide in this encasing. It's kind of like a bunker, and they come on quick. They can appear within the first 24 hours after they settle into the host. So it's not like they have to hang out for 10 years before they form these biofilms. It's also important to realize that these biofilms, okay, are made up of about 32% glucose. That means not only do Candida need sugar to live and reproduce, but they need that sugar to make a biofilm where they can hide from the immune system. What also makes biofilms so bad or so problematic is the old saying, power in numbers. So when Candida band together, they behave differently than they do when they are just a single organism. They kind of they get cocky and they get very resistant to treatment. Typically, if you have a yeast infection or an overgrowth, antifungal medications are what's usually prescribed, and studies show, though, that these biofilms make Candida cells very highly resistant to these medications. One study actually showed, and I will post my sources for all of these, but one study actually showed a near total resistance, to antifungal medications by biofilm-associated Candida. A near total resistance. That means once they're in the biofilm, they're protected from even antifungal medications. So my point to all of this is, just crowding out Candida with typical probiotics is not enough. Okay, that's my personal opinion. It is not enough. In order to totally eradicate this organism or to take care of it in the microbial city, you have to focus on the biofilm, and you have to focus on the cell wall, the shell, the armor that it protects itself with. You need to remove this armor, and you need to destroy their bunker, with very specific tools. The tools I believe is most effective for this is Plexus ProBio5, Here's why. So at the time of manufacture, each capsule in ProBio5, it not only has 2 billion colony-forming units of good guys, that you're putting into the microbiome. They're from 5 different strains, ProBio5, but it also has 4 very important enzymes, that I consider they're like secret weapons when it comes to this type of battle in the microbiome. Why are these important? First, because, Candida are not resistant to enzymes. They can't create resistance to them like they can with antifungal medications. So second, these particular enzymes that I'm going to mention, they're capable of breaking down the materials present in the Candida structure, For example, one of the enzymes, and I'm going to post a whole chart on this in the group. It's a type of enzyme that helps break down the fibrin in the cell wall of the Candida. This is crucial because the fibrin layer is what helps Candida stick. Helps it stick to the host, stick to the tissue in your body. So if fibrin is broken down, the yeast then cannot attach itself to human cells. Another enzyme helps break down proteins in the cell wall, so of the Candida, but also in the nucleus of the Candida, so it goes right for the life force. Another enzyme helps break down that chitin that's in the armor in the shell, and chitin is a very fibrous substance. So it's the main component in the shell. It's like its skeleton almost. So it's very hard and it's very difficult to penetrate unless you have something that is capable of breaking down that chitin. Another enzyme that's in the ProBio5 helps break down cellulose, which is one of the main components that make up the Candida biofilm, These biofilms are intense. They are made up of a couple different components, but this enzyme that's in the ProBio5 helps break through that and get into them. Like I said, the study that showed a near total resistance to antifungal agents by biofilm-associated Candida, that makes them untouchable when it comes to antifungal medications. But this enzyme, and again, I'm going to post a whole chart on this in the group, but this enzyme has the ability to break through the substances that that biofilm is made out of. So that is huge when it comes to combating Candida. Now, in addition to those enzymes, ProBio5 also has 250% of the daily value of vitamin C and 125% of the daily value of vitamin B6. Both are super important for immune support, which you need when you're trying to get a hold of this microbial community. In addition to that, there's 25 milligrams of grapeseed extract, which is a very, very powerful antioxidant that it not only supports the immune system, but it's also very effective against Candida. In fact, studies have shown that grapeseed extract alone can inhibit the growth of Candida cells. And I'll post my references where I'm finding these studies, but that alone by itself has been shown to inhibit Candida. Now, in addition to those enzymes, ProBio5 has 5 strains of good guys that you're also enlisting into the battle, so to speak. So it makes it very beneficial for this dysbiosis, or this trying to get the city back under control. I will post another chart with the good guys in it, but some of these good guys, you know, they help with digestion, nutrient absorption, shown to enhance the T cell response, boost immune health. So there's all kinds of things that these specific strains do. It has lactobacillus in it, which is another strain beneficial for the immune system. That one specifically, there's a lot of studies that have been done on that show it as a soldier bacteria, like I've been talking about, an army general, especially when it comes to like pathogens like E. coli, staph, salmonella, even Candida. So that's a really important one. Another one, you know, has been shown to be effective against C. diff, which I had mentioned, and it helps break down fiber to those bacteria. So there's a lot of really good things that these 5 strains of bacteria do.